I'm okay, John. Hanging tough.
Um, until that last drive, you guys have played the run pretty well, giving up 135 yards, and New England actually runs the ball better than the Browns do. What do you guys? What did you do well against the Patriots until that last series, and then what do you have to do to try to contain the Patriots' running game, especially Cam Newton?
Okay. So after that first series, Cleveland was able to run the ball a little bit on us, and then we were able to make adjustments and get the guys to understand how we needed to play. So they started playing the way we needed them to play, and so we stopped the run. Then in that second half, a little bit, I think guys started feeling like they needed to make a play, and so I feel good about their exuberance on wanting to make a play. All right. But sometimes when you try to make the play yourself, you get out of position or you create seams in the defense. And so some of that was happening. And so we just have to get to the point where we are disciplined and focused all the time and understand that it's not a one-man show. It's the whole unit. That it takes the whole unit really to stop the run, because every run in this league now is at the point of attack. It used to be you could say that they're going to run to the tight end side and that's where it's going to be. But now with the offenses being able to start to the tight end side and then let the runner look for space and find the opening, then everybody's at the point. So if any one person decides he wants to try to make a play, then that could create a seam, and the runners in this league, they can find the seam and gain yards. So we just have to be more consistent all the way across the board.
What about Cam Newton? He's second on their team in rushing, and the fact also that he's so big.
Yeah, that makes it more difficult because he is a big man, and he can run, and he doesn't mind running. Particularly as you get him into the red zone, he'll pull it down. And then if he can't find a receiver, he'll pull it down. So here again, and I know I talk about discipline a lot, but you have to be disciplined in your rush lanes and how you rush the guy. Because if you are undisciplined and you got three guys on one side and one guy on the other, that creates a big running lane for the quarterback. So we have to be disciplined and have two inside rushers, two outside rushers, and collapse the pocket on him so that he can't run.
Aaron Reese.
Hey, Romeo, you made some changes on special teams yesterday with Procise returning kick and then Will returning a punt before DeAndre went back. What did you think of Will and CJ Procise doing those respective roles, and why did you go back to DeAndre later in the game on punt return?
Well, the decision wasn't to take Carter out, okay, because he was in on the punt return, but we had two punt returners back. And so Carter was a short punt returner and Will was a deep one, and the weather had something to do with that. Plus, we have used Fuller in the past to return a punt. Sometimes it's just one, or we get a feel for maybe a punter out kicking his coverage, and then Will be able to take it and get started and then have a chance to make a big play. So we had him deep and Carter short, and he was able to feel the deeper kick and, get it started up the sideline. Now, we might continue to do that from time to time. I don't know if it will be a full-time thing, but we've used Will in the past, put him in and let him return one because he can catch it and he has return ability.
Aaron Wilson.
Hey, Romeo.
Hello, Aaron.
Good morning. When guys continually do the same thing, whether it's not breaking down in the tackling position or trying to make the tackle by themselves instead of playing within the defense, do you consider replacing some of these guys, even if they're some of your top guys, if they don't follow the assignments and do kind of what you guys are trying to coach them to do?
Yeah, that becomes somewhat of a problem, Aaron, and the fact that you say our top guys. If they're our top guys, then that's saying that the guys who are below them are not at the level they are. So what you have to try to do, because basically you're on a limited roster, and so your top guys, you play your top guys because they are your top guys. Now, you could send a message and say, I'm going to take you out and put another guy in and see if he can do it better. But generally, the top guy is the one who does it more consistently for you. So you can take a chance and put another guy in and see how that works. But I don't know that that's going to work any better than the top guy. And one of the things about some top guys is that they have that ego and that effort, and they want to be the ones who makes the play. And sometimes they do that and they make a play, and get a tackle in the backfield or cause a fumble or something like that. And you cheer that when that happens. But sometimes when they're out of position and create seams in the defense, then you have to pull them aside and say, look, this is what we need to do. So now let's see if we can get this done so we can settle this thing down. And then I think that happened after that first drive in Cleveland. But then in the second half, with the game being as close as it was, I think some guys felt like that they needed to try to make a play. And sometimes making a play is totally getting out of your gap. Sometimes making a play is trying to jump around the block and out-quick the guy, and the guy is not as slow as you think he is, then he gets on you and pushes you wide, which creates a seam. So, we have all of that kind of going on. And we just have to continue to preach to these guys that it takes the unit to be a good unit, and just one guy can't get it done.
I wanted to ask you about Pharaoh Brown. So when you all found promoted from the practice squad after a tryout, and just what you think of him. It's his first touchdown, and also having Corey Leggett up from the practice squad and getting a sack. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I think Pharaoh is making good progress. He's coming along as a blocker. He's an energetic guy. He runs his routes. He can catch the ball. And so I'm happy that he was able to get that touchdown because, there were people around him and he caught it and hung on to it so that we can get points on the board. So I think that he'll continue to help us. With Corey, Corey is a veteran who's been around for a while, and he was itching to get an opportunity to play. And so the last 2 games he's been in some, and then he made a good play to beat the guard and then be able to get Baker on the ground. And so that gave him a sack. So I know that he feels good about that production. And then we'll see how it goes as we go down the road.
Adam Wexler.
Hey, Romeo, you've been the head coach for 6 weeks now, 5 games, and kind of the same thing's been discussed all the time with the defense about integrity and discipline and things like that. And mistakes keep getting made. Is there an accountability issue? And with the limited roster, where are you with that, with things that are still happening from the first time you were in charge?
Well, we still have to continue to preach to these players what's important and how they need to play. And people always say that, well, if they don't do it, why don't you put someone else in? And that's a decision that I have to make, whether I think someone else going in will help the defense or hurt the defense. And then some people say, well, it can be hurting it more than it's hurting. But I know what our guys can do because they have shown me, on film that they can do it right. So now then what I have to do is I have to get them to do it right all the time. And that's why you continually hear me talk about discipline and the unit and doing it right all the time.
Christy.
Romeo, do you expect to have David Johnson back this week?
He's in the concussion protocol, so we'll just have to see what they say. Whether he'll be back or not, I'm not sure.
And with Deshaun having a tough day yesterday, I know the weather conditions weren't great, but when he it seems like sometimes when he struggles, he really bounces back big. Do you expect like him to have a big, I guess, bounce back this week after having a tough time yesterday?
Well, I think that Deshaun is such a competitor that he always wants to bounce back if and when he has bad days, so I think that he'll be looking to get that done this week, and he'll be working very hard to make that happen. The weather was definitely a factor in some plays. In the second half when we came out there were about 4 plays that we had guys open that the wind moved the ball. A couple of them, there was some contact, downfield, and we didn't get the call. And so as you look at those plays, we could have made those plays. Let's say if we had been playing inside, but we were playing outside. And so you have to take what happens and then try to make the best of it and move on and get better as you go.
Berman.
Hey, Romeo, some thoughts about your relationship with Bill Belichick and seeing him again on Sunday.
Oh, yeah. It would be great to see Bill again because we worked together for a long time at the Giants and in New England. And he's one of the all-time great coaches. And so it'll be great to compete against him.
Well, there's we always ask these kind of questions, some memories you have of working with him that stand out the most?
Well, probably one of the things that stands out the most is during the strike season. I think the first one in '82, when we didn't know whether we were going to play. And usually on Wednesday, they would say, you're not playing this week. And so we've already got the game plan together, and now we're not playing. So now we have to have something to do. So we used to play racquetball against each other in our racquetball courts. And that was a good indicator of how Bill approached competition and the game, because he would figure out your weakness and then he would attack your weakness. And that's the way he does with football.
John.
Romeo, you beat Patriots with Brady last season. What do you remember about that game? And also, how has their offense changed without Brady?
Well, you know what? Tom had such a good control of that offense and a knowledge of that offense and a knowledge of the players that he was working with and what their abilities were. He knew who his go-to guys were. And so he was able to operate efficiently. His experience, he's seen everything defensively. So it's tough for a defense, for a team to give him something that he hadn't seen. And if you give him time, he knows where to go with the ball. And so, that efficiency made them pretty effective as a team. I think their team now is, they got the new quarterback and he's trying to get indoctrinated to the system, and it takes time, and so you see a good game and then you see a game that's a so-so. And so then you wonder exactly what you're going to get. But I know what Bill preaches. I know what Bill is going to try to do so that he can win the game. And so I think that those players that he has, they will fall in line. And just like last night, they fell in line, even though the weather was a factor. But they fell in line and ran the ball to keep a good quarterback on the sideline.
Okay, we'll take these last three. Cody Stutes.
Romeo, on the drive that ended with Kaimi's missed field goal, did you have any conversation with Deshaun either in that moment or maybe after that moment about maybe trusting the field goal over the offense in that situation? And did you feel like the potential for a failed conversion on fourth down was about the same as a missed field goal?
Well, no, I thought about going for it at that point, and that's why I had to call the timeout, all right, to finalize that decision. But as we were moving down the field, if we had not made it, if we had gone for it and had not made it, then they get the ball back, and they were probably able to run the quarter out, and we lose the win. And so from the field goal, I said, well, we got the win, and our chances on the field goal are pretty good because, Kaimi, he can kick the ball, and he kicked the ball. He hit the ball very well. The wind just pushed it out, So I decided to take that chance, and if we had hit the field goal, then the game is tied up, and it's in the second half, and we'll see what happens, But we missed the field goal, and we ended up 3 points short, as it turns out. But I felt good about the decision that I made, and when I make them, I make them, And if we talk about it, we talk about it after the fact.
Aaron Wilson.
Hey, Romeo, do you anticipate Jacob Martin being able to be off of the COVID list this week? And how did you think Max Sharping played in his first game back in the lineup? Thanks.
All right, Jacob should be back today, as a matter of fact. So we're excited about that because we're thin at that position. So that should help us, and then Max got in and Max was trying to do his job. I think he was a little rusty for missing 10 to 14 days. But I think that he was representative of what we asked him to do. And so I think that he'll get better as the week goes along. And so I expect to see better things from him.
Okay, thanks for your time, Coach.